But hello, for everyone who don't know me, I am Tasha Borner Johnson. I am with New Voices for Reproductive Justice, pronoun she, her. I manage their Sister Speak Youth project program, and everything about this space brings me to this space. Thank you.
So I'm Roxanne Epperson, and I am the founder and executive director of Women Against Abusive Relationships. And I'm just interested in the health and welfare of women globally. So I just want to do my part and see what's going on in this group. And this is just my second time attending, so I just want to learn and see what's going on.
And real quick, how you feeling today, Ms. Roxanne?
Oh, I can't even tell you how fantastic I am. There's just been so much good stuff happening this week. It's just too much to tell you.
I appreciate it. I'm glad.
Blessings abound.
Good to hear.
Great.
It's the favorite kind of blessings, the abounding ones.
Yeah, cool beans.
Mr. Shire, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Tashara Halyard, she, her pronouns. Today I'm feeling sick. Just the pollen is getting to me. But otherwise, all is well, trying to bring in some of Miss Roxanne's energy. And I am the Bgea research coordinator, so I know many of your faces. Good to see everyone today.
Miss Irene, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. It's so good to meet you. This is my first time attending this meeting. I'm a researcher at the University of Pittsburgh, working with Uma, who kind of told me about this group. So just, interested in getting to know this group and all the things that y'all are doing.
How are you feeling today, Miss Irene?
Oh, how am I feeling today? I'm feeling good. I'm actually in California right now, so it's very sunny and warm.
Miss Uma, you're next on the screen there.
Hi everyone, I'm Uma, you, she, her pronouns. I have worked with Gwen's Girls in the past a bunch, but since last June, I have been working with Irene at the Pittsburgh Girls Study, and I do a lot of research regarding like women's mental health and maternal health and that kind of thing, particularly Black women. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to come and listen and learn at this meeting. And I'm feeling excited to be here. It's been a while since I've been in this space, so I'm excited to be back.
Glad to have you. Thank you. Brian, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, Brian Sims, JOMA Works. We do University K-12 partnership development. I am feeling pretty okay, ready for summer. And yeah, just generally interested in the health and wellness of Black girls. Happy to be here. Good to see all the familiar faces and the new faces as well.
I don't know how it is where you're at, Brian, but we're waiting for spring here. We're like,
Tallahassee, yeah, okay. No, I'm definitely waiting for something.
Yeah, we just want spring to come. That would be good. Miss Sarah, you want to introduce yourself?
I am Sarah. I am the intake coordinator at Gwen's Girls. She, her are my pronouns. I am feeling just a little bit frustrated because I'm in bumper to bumper traffic. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty grateful. I am in this space. I do a lot of work with the girls that we represent at Gwen's Girls and the girls that we work with. And I just want to keep abreast of policy, education issues, and specifically how they affect Black and brown girls in our communities.
Well, I think your resilience really shines through that you can stay grateful even while in traffic. Good job. Coley, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Coley Olsen. My pronouns are they, them, they, them. I work for the Healing Wellness Foundation, and I'm just here supporting Gwen's Girls because Gwen's Girls are also my kids, too.
How are you feeling today, Coley?
I'm feeling pretty good. I actually got to see my little with big brothers, big sisters, so that was really cool. So it's nice to see kids active and, just happy.
Nice. Jaquela.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jaquela Huger. I work for Allegheny County CYF. I'm a best practice specialist. So I work around policy and mentorship with caseworkers. My pronouns are she and her. I have joined this group in the past. I enjoy the conversations. So I had time in my schedule today, so I dropped in. And I thought it was interesting that Uma says she works with Pittsburgh Girl Study, because I've been doing that since I was a child. I think I've done it for 18 years now. So it's been interesting to just be a part of that. And now I'm working as a social worker at CYF. So.
I don't know if that was breaking up for other folks, but towards the end there, we got a little, or is that my computer? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm feeling okay today, slight headache, but it's not terrible. So I'm just pushing through.
Sweet. All right. And Zoom is telling me that it's actually my internet that is being unstable. So instability in these great days of time. Miss Ashley Hall? Ashley, I don't mispronounce your name. I'm sorry.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley. I'm a therapist with Pittsburgh Action Against Rape, pronoun she, her. I'm feeling pretty drained today. I had sessions all morning, and I have another 4 hours of sessions after this meeting. I'm pretty much here to learn how PAR can play a role in any programs or organization opportunities that you all have planned, and just see how I can be an assistance in any way.
Glad to have you here. Hopefully you can get some rest after this long day. Olivia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia. I use she, her pronouns. I work for Youth Enrichment Services, and I am on the call to learn about how we can support some of our young people through some mental health challenges that they're going through right now, and all the time, unfortunately. And I'm feeling motivated by all of the people on the call.
Sinclair.
Hi, everyone. So Sinclair, my pronouns are she, her. I am a newly operations director with Joma Works, but currently kind of transitioning out of my role as a school counselor, therapist. And so feeling good, but definitely bouncing a lot because I'm at the school right now. So, and it's been a crazy day of just meetings and student needs, the usual. But I'm here to kind of learn more and just support as Joma Works, works with you all.
Appreciate you being here. Be able to support the work. Mallory, like to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Mallory. I'm the outreach coordinator at Community Living and Support Services. We provide home and community-based services to folks with all types of disabilities. So I am here to provide any kind of support related to, educate, sex education for folks with disabilities. So that's me.
Oh, you
I'm feeling motivated.
Motivated, I like it. Phoebe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Phoebe. I am a project coordinator at Pitt. I work with Dr. Ashley Hill. I am feeling a little tired, but it's all right.
I hear you, a little tired. I think no sunshine doesn't help. I don't know if you're actually in Pittsburgh right now, but it's not super sunny. Tamara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Tamara Dixon. I'm the Equity Inclusion Program Manager for Allegheny County Children, Youth, and Families. My pronouns are she and her. I am excited to hold space today, to be able to take time aside just to stay connected to others who are doing the work. I think I answered everything.
I think Ms. Fleming is the only one that hasn't gone, or I guess Brittany and I haven't gone either, but Ms. Fleming, you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. I am feeling under the weather. That's why I'm not on camera, because I look crazy. My pronouns are she, her. I work at the Center for Victims. I'm a community outreach and intervention specialist. And I'm here just to try to get information on, you know, just ways to better support the women in the housing communities where we live. Well, not where we live, but where we serve. Our contract is with the Housing Authority for the City of Pittsburgh. So we work with a lot of the families. There's a lot of like violence going on, and better ways to, you know, serve the youth. There's a lot of domestic violence. So just here for some support.
Thank you for being here. Dr. Franklin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. So I'm Brittany Brinkman. My pronouns are she, her. I am a psychology professor at Point Park University, and I'm co-coordinator of this group with Jose. I am here mostly because I love Gwen's Girls and all of the work that they do, and I am feeling very excited. Just having a good day, and it is great, but it is sort of spring. I'm jumping on that we're not ready for summer, but it's kind of spring. There are buds, the magnolias are gonna bloom any day, and that, like, can't wait for that. So
Once the buds come, I hope they don't get frozen away.
I know, right?
My name is Jose. You see they pronouns. I'm a site director at Youth Places downtown. Also co-convener of the Health and Wellness group here. I'm excited to be here. These meetings always sneak up on me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's time for another meeting. But also, I'm always so glad when I'm like, it's another meeting. So I'm glad to see folks here. I'm excited to kind of get up with some new things, and I'm also excited, check out the segue, to hear what kind of updates folks have for us today, especially in regards to any of the work that you're doing that would be relevant to hear. So I'll leave space for that. And just hold on one second, I'm doing double duty here. I got to check on something, but I'm listening.
I'll do an announcement. So if you haven't noticed the lovely backgrounds that Tashire and I are sporting here, it is the 20th anniversary celebration of Gwen's Girls. Coming up soon, there's an amazing gala that I just looked at the date, May 12th, I think. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. So check it out and join us if you can. Other updates that people have, things that are going on in your organization, events, things that you want to share with us, or things that you want support from this group about.
If I can share two things, Brittany. The policy agenda is getting formatted as we speak. Yay. And pretty soon we will have our state and local policy agenda. That's number one. And number two, you all are the first group to hear that the dates for this year's Equity Summit will be September 29th to October 1st. And so we will be sharing the RFP and the save the date very soon.
And I'm assuming we're gonna, do we have any idea yet whether we're gonna be able to be in person, or is that a TBD?
So person, and we even had the room locked in, and it was to be held at Pitt. Unfortunately, we're having a few things that need to be worked out, but God willing, that is still the location and that is still the plan, that we will be able to commune in person.
You can't see it, but my heart is aflutter right now.
I just want to bring back up the New Voices for Reproductive Justice, Say Her Name Justice Fund, which will help cover sudden expenses associated with sudden tragic loss for Black women and their families who have been impacted by gun violence and gender-based violence. So if that fits anybody, or if anybody wants any more information, reach out to me and I can get you over to the Justice Fund and the people who are running it, and or the page that gives a lot more information than I probably can, unless I read everything off the page.
Wanted to put out a call for recruitment for a set of focus groups that we are conducting at Pitt UPMC. We're looking for Black girls ages 13 to 19 to talk about their experiences of racism and how racism impacts their sexual and reproductive health. So I'll put our flyer into the chat as well as my contact information, but we would love to hear from any of the youth that you're working with.
Thank you very much. And I see Coley mentioned that Hugh Lane Wellness is hosting a Lavender Graduation for LGBTQ plus graduates, seniors. I like that you are doing it retroactively too. That's nice. Did you want to expand on that at all, Coley, or?
Yeah, just in case anyone's unfamiliar with the Lavender Graduation, really it's a moment to acknowledge our LGBTQ plus students, but also any allies who also have done any service work for LGBTQ plus communities. So if they're, part of their school's GSA or have done other service work or work directly with Hugh Lane, they're also eligible to receive their flowers, their lavender cord, and also just acknowledgement of all of their accomplishments. It's actually held during our chosen family cookout. So it'll be a lot of people there, and they are welcome to bring any of the people who they feel are supporters and loved ones.
Is there any registration or any place that folks can find more information, or?
People are welcome to email me for now. I'm just putting a save the date out just because I know things are about to get real busy.
Thank you so much, Coley. All right. Any other updates? All right. Well, if anything comes anyway later on, we're not closing the door for updates, but we will move forward on the agenda. Next thing we have up is some updates on some of our own mental health work. And also with that, we would also welcome anybody who has any thoughts or support that they can provide to just overall mental health work. But we'll start off with some general work stuff.
Cool. So couple updates. Earlier, I guess last month now, participated in a wonderful fireside chat with Tashira and Dr. Venus and Tawanda around mid-March, and had some really quality, I think, discussion and discourse around mental health needs, particularly in schools. Dr. V did her thing, so that was a wonderful opportunity. We are so super excited about our newest addition, Sinclair Arthur, who's our operations director. She's going to be a very much needed and welcomed addition to our team. We're putting together a sequence of new research proposals. So I emailed a prospectus for our school mental health teacher training initiative out, Jose and Brittany and Tashira, I think you have it. Feel free to share that with the work group in general. But we're looking for funds to continue to be able to provide trainings pro bono for community organizations across Allegheny County and nationally. So big thanks for all you all's support in doing that. And I think that's it. So the offer still totally stands in terms of if you're connected with Bgea in any way, we'd be happy to put together, training experiences for staff or folks in your spaces. We've got ongoing training schedule right now in you all's area with Pittsburgh Action Against Rape and Planned Parenthood for Western Pennsylvania. So if you're interested, let either myself or Sinclair know, and we'll be happy to get you scheduled. I think that's it.
Brian, could you put your email in the chat so I can grab it?
Absolutely. There's my email address. And there's the link.
Sorry, because I'm so terrible at doing two things at once. I was trying to drop that file in, which I did drop in. So congratulations on that part. Did you say that you had some upcoming trainings that were already in the works with Planned Parenthood and PAR? Or are you saying that they're going through them? I missed that part.
Upcoming. Yep. So they've reached out and in the queue to get scheduled. So certainly not too late. We'll be doing it on an ongoing basis, but just want to make sure folks are aware. Anything? Brittany, am I leaving anything out? I think that's most of it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I also put the file in the drive.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So people should be able to access it in a couple places there. Yeah.
Yeah, so the prospectus just has like, the newest team members and the model and all of the basic stuff that you need as far as interest. Like I said, we got a proposal that's in at New Schools Venture Fund, working on one for the Spencer Foundation, and then also an NIH opportunity later on this year. So Tashara, I'd love to get on your calendar just to politic and talk, all things research, because collab.
Sounds good to me. Also, thank you for lifting up the webinar, Brian. I made sure that I dropped that in the chat, y'all. And just a quick plug, moving forward, all of the work group meetings and our webinars, the She Matters series, are going to be on the Gwen's Girls Bgea page. So y'all make sure you bookmark that in case you can't participate. But Brian and Dr. V's conversation was amazing.
Yeah, Dr. V, get me pumped. I've been trying to find a Black Ray to put on, and I'm like, time to be a revolutionary.
I'm still mad at Tashara, you all having me go after her. Like, I need to talk to somebody high up, because that was just not a good look. But no, it wasn't amazing.
Somebody has to do it, and we felt like you were the one. You could handle the heat, and you did a fantastic job.
I literally picked up the mic and dusted it off and tried to keep people's attention. But no, it was appreciate the opportunity, and I hope it was helpful.
For folks that are newer too, I dropped a link to our drive in there. It's just kind of a landing area for all things health and wellness within this group. If there's relevant things like Coley, as y'all, if you have any flyers, anything that come up, you can, I'll make a new folder for events and things like that. I don't think we have one in there right now. But we'll keep on updating, and I'm past due on my maintenance of that drive anyway, so sometimes it gets overrun with files. But any relevant things are welcome to put in there. There's lots of things on studies and notes for past meetings, and just lots of relevant information to the work that we're doing.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say, so if there's any questions about the JOMWorks training, or if I think a couple of people mentioned sort of thinking about mental health of youth as part of why you're here. If there's anything that people want to share of things that are going on in your organizations, or what resources you're looking for, we can sort of open it up for questions or sharing out or comments.
I do have a question. Did we, as this group, are we going to get this training, or was that just need basis, or we just reaching out separate, or was this space going to be able to get the training?
I think we can do it. What do you think, Brian?
Absolutely. If you're interested, then we're interested, for sure. Yep.
I think maybe if you all could tell us what would be the easiest way, like, should we pick a day and time that's like Bgea members? Do you all, you know what I mean? Like, I think we can organize it. We just need to know sort of what y'all think is going to be most accessible to like actually make it happen.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the sessions, as are like 4 to 6. So the entire work group probably wouldn't be able to do like one big, huge thing. But what I can definitely do is carve out a couple of times and then just sort of target those, and then let you all know. That way, at least members would have like an opportunity to choose between 2 or 3 options. We can do that. Yep. Awesome. That's exciting. Yep. And then so Tasha, that's like you specifically, but also like folks that you work with, or like organizationally, like broad net. If anybody that you think might benefit or be interested in it, our arms are wide open.
Can you hear that in the background?
Jose's at work.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was unmuted too, and like there's a lot going on. I apologize.
Sorry.
But to restate Brittany's question, I know a lot of folks in here did mention mental health. I know it's something that's, and I am not a mental health professional, so like, but I've been, it's a something I've seen. All you have seen a huge need. So I'm curious to hear about any other work that folks are doing, or I want to ask supports needed too, but I feel like that might be too much to ask. I feel like everyone's gonna be like, so many supports, but just what supports any folks have locally would be really helpful, and just any other work going on in this city would be great to hear about.
One of the things that I have found extremely helpful in all the different arenas that I work in is Still Smiling, which is an organization that offers a list of Black and Brown therapists. They have a list of female, they have a list of male, and they separate it out by their specialties, whether it's marriage, drug and alcohol, whatever it may be. But also what I have found so helpful, and every single referral I have sent to them, they have paid for and accepted for services. I've probably sent about 11 young men and women for therapy, and they have accepted them for services and paid for it. So it's basically an organization that offsets those co-pays or whatever fees might be associated, or if insurance doesn't cover it, they cover it.
I know we've talked about like Still Smiling before, and I don't know if anybody has a closer connection just to make sure we're inviting them into the space and meet. And you know, I know people's meetings agendas are full, but it'd be great to have, just to make sure that, you know, we're like welcoming people to come to those meetings. And
I know the main contact person is Julius Boatwright.
Yeah, so I've actually reached out to them a few times, and I met with, and I feel bad, I do not remember their name. I'm really bad with names. But there's only three people that are on staff there. So they're I think that's part of the thing, is just there's not a lot of capacity. But they're growing. I hope they continue to grow. One thought I had, which might be better offline, but also I'll bring it up right now anyway, is, you know, if Joan Works was ever interested in doing a train the trainer model, I don't know if that's something you've done before, Brian, but I feel Still Smiling would be a great organization to partner with, because locally we have, you know, that network of Black therapists that Ms. Sarah mentioned, right? And the need is so great, and I feel like that mental health first aid, with that lens that you all bring, could just be such a great tool to have in the city. I know you're already doing the trainings, but as a way to even like grow the capacity with those trainings can be locally, I think could be a fantastic thing to explore.
I agree. That sounds like a great idea.
All right, so I met with the person's name I don't remember, but I'll reach out to them. I'll reach out to them again and maybe find some time for us to sit down and see what that could look like.
Yeah, that'd be great. And even if there's a way we can just keep a line of communication, so they don't have to try to make it to our meetings, but that as they have stuff coming up, that we're, you know, able to bring it to the group to support what they're doing and help build that out. I mean, I think that it's like such an important resource in Pittsburgh. And so if there's more that we can do to be supporting them, they might not have capacity to show up all the time, but I think that would be good. But yeah, other things, I mean, I think, you know, I am in fact a mental health professional. So, you know, and so I have like a small caseload of kids right now, my like seeing individual therapy with, but even just what kinds of trends people are noticing now that, you know, those kids are back in person, in schools and in organizations, and what kinds of things are coming up. Are there, you know, what are we noticing that might be similar or different pre-pandemic?
And just to uplift two things in the chat, I'm not familiar with Upstreet, the free virtual service that you're speaking of for 12 to 22. Is that, I'm assuming that's mental health services, or is that one-on-one therapy?
Mental health services. So when I met with them, they described having a support service that is more generally support. But if you need mental health services, they have therapists that are available for that as well. All the services do not have to have parental permission if it's just support. If they need more intensive services and mental health services, they have to have parental permission up until they're 14, at which time they don't have to have permission. But it's all virtual. They recently come to Arsenal and discussed with us having some in-person stuff, some classes, some groups, and things of that nature. So they are trying to expand the services they provide as well. If you end up needing literature, I do have their flyer and some literature that they just brought me the other day as well. Oh.
Thank you for sharing that and uplifting that. And Coley, the therapist, is that something that folks can go to the Hugh Lane website or call down, or how does that work?
They have to be involved with Hugh Lane Youth Services. So if they're already like engaged with youth services, they would have access through the Discord and be able to just let me know they're reserving the time for themselves.
And how will we plug folks into the youth services at Hugh Lane? Is it also, is there a way to plug them in, or would it be contacting you, or?
Contact me. We usually do an intake in person or virtually with our youth outreach coordinator.
All right, thank you. Appreciate folks sharing out those resources. And once again, not closing the door for the mental health resources. We can push forward the agenda. I will say that working with youth day to day, and even just in my own family, it's like just trying to find substantial resources is like, it's like heartbreaking. I'm like, what, it's literally like, if you're not in crisis, it's like, well, we can get to you in 6 months. Or when you get into crisis. It's almost like they're incentivizing being in crisis. Thank you, Brown. Sorry, I'm looking at this link. Apologies. It looks like that link you shared is password protected.
Oh, it is? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try to figure out. It was the flyer with their QR code that they give for all the students to just scan in to access their platform. So, okay, I'll try again. Sorry.
Thank you, though. No problem. Thank you for sharing. So let's move forward on street harassment. Frankie, you want to start us off with where we're at the street harassment project?
Yes, yeah. So those of you who've been around in this space for a while know we were pretty much all set up for April 2020 to do a large talking event in Market Square downtown to raise awareness about street harassment. With the permits, everything was ready to roll, and then the world shut down. So we are talking about trying to revive that and just sort of exploring the space and what that would look like. Some background on it. Part of where it emerged is that when we were doing the study on Black girls' experiences of sexual harassment more broadly in Western Pennsylvania, in focus groups and in the surveys, some of the girls talked about experiencing street harassment, especially we were mostly talking about in schools. They were talking about on their way to and from school, but then more broadly. The kids that go to school downtown definitely talk about their experiences downtown. All the kids on the buses, we know Pittsburgh Public Schools is using more public buses to transport. And so it was something that came up consistently in all of the groups. The girls would talk about what they're experiencing in school, but also being harassed on their way to and from school, including by adults. And just really very little happening about it. Girls would talk about actually ending up being late to school because they would go a different way to try to avoid a target area, and then ending up and getting in trouble at school. One of our girls was experiencing so much harassment to school that her mom had her bring mace to protect herself, and she got suspended from school for 10 days. When she got there, she told the security guard why she had it, what's going on. They suspended her anyway. So we know it's a problem, and it's pretty much unaddressed. Schools are legally responsible for the safety of students on their commute to and from schools. case nobody knew that. I didn't know that until we were doing this project. I would say for the most part, our schools aren't doing much about sexual harassment in school. They're certainly not doing anything about it on the commute. That, you know, whether it's a school bus or city bus or, you know, girls are walking. So we've talked about actually kind of a multi-year plan, really hitting downtown hard, but not exclusively. I think really focusing on the downtown area and then also the buses to do first some awareness raising. So I did a project with Ellis School a few years ago where they did a chalking event. They surveyed the students of things that they had heard during street harassment, and then they chalked an area in Bakery Square, just writing down like the exact things that had been said to the kids and their age, and it was pretty startling and powerful. And then they videoed themselves doing the chalking and being harassed while they were out there chalking. So, you know, it was one of those. So just first raising awareness by having this like idea of the chalking event is for people to, in a very public space, write, here's the kinds of things that, you know, they hear on a regular basis. Because I think that there's either a lack of awareness of street harassment or a minimization of it. And so sometimes having to actually like read the things that are being said can be really powerful. So the idea is to start with some public awareness raising and then be building out to doing more bystander intervention training. A number of the students talked about, in particular, being harassed by adults and then other adults being around doing nothing about it. And that part of the experience being sort of particularly impactful in a negative way, right? This sort of like, you know, one girl talked about an adult man followed her, talking to her. She walked into a CVS thinking some person's gonna do something about this, walked around the entire store and like no one said anything. And I suspect there were adults that were uncomfortable with what was happening, but you know, people don't always know what to do in that kind of situation. So we really want to do some bystander intervention training for downtown businesses who are willing, and for bus drivers, and to do some like public signage on buses, right? Like to intervene. That it's really simple interventions with street harassment can be pretty effective. Just saying anything, acknowledging that it's happening and interrupting the interaction can be really impactful. So we're talking about, again, kind of starting with this sort of big public campaign of a chalking event downtown and then trying to sort of build out from there. So that's kind of the big picture. I don't know, Jose?
Yeah, what we discussed before is kind of where we're at, just, you know, timeline wise, you know, maybe in early August and whatnot, we can try to look at revisiting. It's tricky in Pittsburgh, right? Because weather, you know, I'm not going to talk about my southern colleagues that don't have to think about the weather as much as we do here sometimes, but it can be an issue, right? So we, you know, want to make sure we don't get in the fall when it starts getting kind of rainy again. But since I've been downtown, they started putting these meetings with the Downtown Safety Coalition, which, you know, we have such a broad idea of what safety is. Honestly, within this group, they seem to be very set on, you know, kids fighting. And if we can stop kids from fighting, then the city's safe. Sexual harassment obviously is not at the front of most people's minds when they think about safety. But it's at the front of mind. So I brought up the chalk out with them. We're hoping to get some backing from the what is it called? I'm not gonna try to
Downtown Pittsburgh Partnership, maybe.
Yeah, whoever the downtown Pittsburgh people. Yes, that sounds right.
I think it's Better Block Pittsburgh.
No, there's like the Pittsburgh, the whole organization that tries to bring Pittsburgh events in and makes it seem like Pittsburgh is the greatest place in the world to anybody that visits.
Sorry, I was gonna say something. We're being recorded. Not kidding. Downtown Pittsburgh Partnership, I think is.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. There we go.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that this is absolutely brilliant. I'm curious, is there like a precedence in any other city is there any other city that we can look at that is doing something similar to this? Because honestly, I have never heard of it. I have never even thought about it. But when I heard it, I was like, this is brilliant. I wish we would do this. But I'm just wondering if.
Yeah. So I'm putting some links in the chat. So New York City in particular has done some campaigns, Stop Telling Women to Smile, as artists, street artists, and she's actually traveled around the country. It'd be awesome for us to bring her here. So she's done stuff in New York and Philly. Also Girls for Gender Equity in New York City, an organization that we've like worked with on some things. They are doing amazing work with girls. They've put out some work on street harassment. There's a couple of groups that have done chalking events actually around the world. This sort of chalking thing is a pretty common sort of awareness of raising, because it's easy. I literally have like boxes of chalk that we bought from 2 years ago. It's like a pretty easy thing to do once you get it going. So yeah, so we can definitely build up. And I've done smaller versions of this in Pittsburgh, but this is like the largest one, I think. And we've done it at Point Park because, similar downtown location. But I think I haven't heard of us in Pittsburgh doing like a kind of larger event like this, but definitely New York, Philly, that they've held sort of similar kinds of campaigns. There's not I haven't seen really well work done very well beyond that, right? So there's places that have done some awareness raising campaigns, and then a lot of stuff gets kind of stuck there for all kinds of reasons that we can dig into as a group. Like once you start talking about this, kind of Jose mentioned this, it's been my experience too, when we start talking about safety, there some people have this sort of bias to think that safety means having more police officers or calling the police when things happen or teaching people self-defense. And, I'm pretty much of the opinion that more police usually make situations less safe, right? Especially in Black and Brown communities. So the way how we deal with this is sometimes we butt up against like other people's ideas of the solution. So I think, raising awareness, but also really thinking about this as how do we shift a culture and how do we get like more just adults walking through the space involved in speaking up about things. And so, even in the, like what Jose was saying about kind of these safety committees in cities often want to take a solution that is not, I think, the solution that we are advocating for. So we have some models, but I think we also honestly have the potential to, as a city, to lead this in a different kind of way. And with like Gainie's interest areas around thinking about health and safety as a community, I think there's an opportunity for us to try to take a different lens and approach. Cities have done, and I think I saw Julianne here, I don't know if she was still able to be here, but cities have done kinds of bystander training around sexual violence in other ways, like training bartenders and restaurant staff to think about bystander intervention. But they're not often thinking about that for street harassment. And so I think some of it's just helping people connect the dots, right? I saw there's a local group that gives out stickers, and one of them says like, let people walk home safely. That's the crux of this, right? It's just like, what does it mean for people to feel safe walking around in the space or walking to and from school, right? So I think that there's like, we can pull together some different areas of work to sort of make a bigger like cultural shift around this.
Thoughts. This is fantastic, and I'm not sure if everyone here knows that Dr. Kathy is the chairperson for the mayor's transition team on health and safety. And so obviously this is a great chance for her to bring our work back to the mayor's transition team. And as Brittany and Jose have mentioned, we know that safety, sometimes narrowly defined by most, has been a big focus of Mayor Gainey. So I think this is a great time for us to advocate for what our girls need. That's number one. And then number two, I'm thinking, depending on how things go, let's keep talking about how to maybe hold a space for this at the summit. I think this would be really great as far as a session around street harassment, but also any type of like chalking activity we may want to do the day before or on Saturday, which is going to be primarily youth focused and driven.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great suggestions.
I had a question for the event. Is the mayor going to be there? Is he going? Because this would be a good opportunity to have him, given the connection.
So
to talk to the youth.
We're not quite there yet. So that's what I was about to mention was maybe the next step.
Okay.
Well, a few next steps. One, Brittany and I will look at some dates and see if we can if we can't get another permit for Market Square, which I'm pretty sure we can get that done. And then we can collect whoever in this room and whoever outside of this room will be interested in helping in the planning of that. So that way we're making sure that we're including all voices and also all resources that we can possibly throw at this. I think would really be a lot to put in there. And I feel like there's so many cross sections for all the different people in this room and the ways that we look at this, right? Like, so many folks are folks on mental health and disability. And we know that like those two things affect how people are, the level of sexual harassment and assault for that matter. And, we're all here for gender equity. So obviously that's a very obvious one, but also intersection of race. I do feel, have you ever watched that one show, the What Would You Do show? I can't remember his name, but he I don't think he's ever done it. I never seen the episodes where he did it with sexual harassment. He did it with like drunk girls who are being like picked up and taken away. And there was a big difference when it was a white girl versus when it was a black girl versus when it was a black boy. So we already know there's a bias towards who needs help and who doesn't need help. Go to the Gwen's Rose website and look at any of the reports, and you'll start to see how that bias shows up in the real world. So I think that'd be great. Maybe for the time being, we can in the chat take accounting of folks. I think we have most of your. We can contact any of you registered for this meeting. So if you just want to put a raised hand or a yes or a heck yes if you're feeling saucy in the chat, we'll take that list and make sure that similar to what we're doing with the comprehensive sex ed work. We'll bring it up again next month at the next meeting, but we'll also start setting up some more targeted, because it takes a lot to organize these things, as I'm sure you all know.
Hey, if I could share one thing, and I wanted to say heck yes, because I am feeling saucy, but I can't use the chat because I'm driving. But what was I going to say? Oh, that there is a lot of research from Australia on something called contextual prevention. I'll get the resource when I'm back at my computer and share it out, but it could be a good place to look for, because they were looking at it at more of the community level. So I don't know if it's exactly street harassment, but it might be a good resource for us as we continue on with this project. So thanks.
Thanks, Julie. That's great. Yeah, I'll definitely put you on the list.
And also to Brittany's point about more policing, the Downtown Safety Coalition meetings, 90% cops. I had to tell them the second month I was there, I was like, this makes me really uncomfortable. This is like all like, it's like all cops. I'm like, hey, they're like, oh, we can talk to the kids about trauma awareness. And I was like, no, do not do that, sir. I was like,
why did we all say no at the same time? We all
I was like, no. And I was like, I hate when I'm in those rooms. I'm like, these rooms are great. I'm like, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but we're all here to do the same work. With those rooms, I'm about to say something and nobody's gonna like this. And like, yeah, I was
just know you've got the spirit of us behind you. Like, we're with you in spirit when you're there.
I feel very empowered because of that. Trust me. I need to call upon all the spirit. So I see so many folks that are definitely interested, and that's great. If anybody has any thoughts that they want to share as far as what might be manageable even through organizational support, and maybe it's too early to ask that question since we're kind of just bringing it up now, but I'm curious. I know so many of us are here representing ourselves and also organizations. I do know, like, if we do something down here and weather isn't super great, I do have a site down here, so I'm more than welcome to host something here but hopefully weather's gonna be great and we'll be out at Market Square and Market Square, yeah. I always get Market Square Station. Thank you, Tashara, and y'all always do a wonderful job with that too. The comms support. And the Bgea girls will certainly be tapped. For those of you who aren't familiar with Bgea, it's a group of very wonderful, exceptional humans that have been doing such great work out of Gwen's girls.
You know, it might be awesome to have some of them do the little short videos that they've been doing, talking about an experience that they've had and how that made them feel.
Yes, that was actually one of the things we were going to do is like PSAs. And so I think that's a great idea. And we can probably either whatever sort of resources we have there, but also I can tap some Point Park students to help with like filming. The other thing I was going to say that we had talked about is like actually meeting with Bgea and Ellis and other student groups at the time in advance of the event. So like when you already have, youth coming together, that we can come in and do sort of like a, discussion workshop, like here's what we're going to do, to get them like thinking about it. Because obviously we want a lot of youth to come like the day of, but if you are doing a youth, if you have an organization or a group, we could definitely come in and talk about, sort of like what are their experiences, what have they seen. Like we really want this to be a youth-led event. But I love the idea, Sarah, of like having some videos, because I think that will also, that's stuff that we can put out that'll last. We can also plan a video the day of. And last time, I think we'll do this again, is ask like PAR to send advocates so that we have people, like we really want to raise awareness and also start discussions. Like this is really meant to be not an event that's the end of something, but really like the start of something. So any sort of ideas that you have about groups you want us to intersect with, that would be awesome.
And speaking of the media piece, Christy Chalmers from FASA had reached out to folks, and some of you might have gotten an email, but Public Source is trying to do some stories on sexual harassment. I put a Word document there, which I hope is that works for information for anybody who wants to share with students or any folks who might be able to just talk about what their experience has been around sexual harassment. Because to Dr. Brinkley's point earlier, this is something that is like everywhere and somehow invisible at the same time. So really shedding light on it is a really important step. So that's in there for the time being too. Another thing that had come to mind too was, I know Women's Law Center had those flyers that they were putting out for a long time. I would love to see about how we can support them in doing another big push on those. Because I feel a lot of folks who are dealing with sexual harassment, it's not a like, I should call 911 kind of issue that folks think of, but just for folks to know that Women's Law Project is out there and like available to field any calls and any concerns, and to be a safe place to report, or to even just discuss what reporting could look like and might look like, and to if they want to go to police, to know that there's some sort of legal advocate there to make sure that they're not just brushed off or minimized or what all the things that law enforcement has been known to do. Just because I think it's one of many pieces of why it's such a prevalent issue, right? Is because there's no like who do you call, who do you turn to? And oftentimes people, like, once again, are watching kids get harassed and don't say anything. I remember being in school watching a girl be harassed, and I said something and had like a 20-minute interaction with the person who was doing that. And then the bell rings and their teacher comes up to me after all the kids have left and was like, oh, that was something else, huh? And I'm like, yeah, it was. Like, and where were you this whole time, dude? Like, what do you like, what I mean? Like, what is like, do you not feel compelled to like keep like, and she was like assaulted. This guy like had put his hands on her behind, you know what I mean? And this teacher felt he didn't have to say anything except to me at the end of just like, whoa. So we know the issue there, but we got to make sure that other folks know and how to actually be an active bystander, right? Like how do we intervene, and how do we get support in that intervention? Because
I wanted to go back to a point you made about the police. Some of my nursing students, we've been talking about all these incidents and things that happen. One of the thoughts we had was, has the police department ever thought about having social workers and nurses who are on staff there? And they could be the ones that intervene. You know, I know we have a nursing shortage, but, and other people, maybe the mental health workers, but I just think if those people were around, some of these things we see would not have happened the way they did. And that would make girls more comfortable. You know, I just don't know if that's in the plans.
I don't know how much power the mayor has, but I think that's something that needs to be pushed from outside of the police force, which is hard to do. The Fraternal Order Police is a very strong union. I feel a lot of officers have bought into the idea that we painted about them for so long of they can solve anything and everything. They can get a cat off the tree. They can, you know, help calm you down if something's happened. They could, you know, they can stop everything. And I think that, you know, to your point, Ms. Willa, there's better people served for some of that, right? Sometimes 911, you need, you know, therapeutic support or anything that isn't somebody with a vest and a gun on their hip, right? That's very specific help that most folks don't need.
Yeah, that's not their training. The police are not trained at all to handle this. They're trained to handle suspects.
Right. Yeah, right. Well, we're trained to do a lot of things. So there is a movement nationally to add a new number 988 that would not go to the police, but would actually go to a helpline that would be mostly staffed by mental health professionals. Some states have adopted it, and some localities are actually utilizing it. And it was something that has come up with Gainey's transition team on health and community safety to really push for Pittsburgh to create. So it would actually be like, you don't call the police, you call this other line, and they send a response, and they're connected to the police, right? So they can make decision making if they want to have a police presence. But because we know, I mean, maybe having social workers with police is better than not, but actually just not having police show up in the first place, and a lot of interactions would be better. So I think there's some push for it, and it's happening. I don't know how, I don't have a read on the temperature locally of the likelihood that it's going to happen. And I think it only is successful when it's funded well enough. We cannot hire 2 social workers for the entire city of Pittsburgh and expect that we have but I think it's a really important point, and one that Bgea generally can keep pushing, and it aligns so well with the work we're doing in school, right? It's the same idea. Stop turning to police into problems that are not actually problems that the police have, whether it's in school or outside of school. So,
do you have information that you could put in about that? Those programs, Brittany?
I can send out some stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I also know that Wilkinsburg Police, in partnership with the University of Pittsburgh, MSW students did have MSW students embedded within their department. Unfortunately, I think the program didn't continue, but I do know that the students talked about getting different people were coming in with different types of problems because there were other people to talk to rather than just law enforcement. So it might be interesting to follow up with what happens there. I don't know why it was just, I don't know if maybe nobody signed up for it next time or whatever that is, but that might be something for us to think about. And if I could just hop back real quick to what Jose was talking about, Women's Law Project, I think that piece is so important because, I remember a couple years ago when FISA funded some videos from Pittsburgh Public School students talking about sexual harassment. And I think that awareness raising is really important, but I think what we then also have is young people come forward and talk about experiences and then go right back to the same schools and the same streets, and that stuff still happens. So, and I think the intervention resources, I think, as Jose noted, are lacking. And Women's Law Project can't help every student who's experiencing that. They're not a large staff. So if we either had identified people, or maybe thought about doing some training for specific core people, particularly in schools. Students report that and nothing happens. So I think we should do some thinking at some point about what's the intervention and response that we can offer people after they, are raising awareness and sharing about their experiences of sexual harassment.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I was gonna say, I kind of know, like, even like thinking about the Downtown Safety Coalition, there's so many officers and folks that are there, and also Mad Dads does a lot. But once again, it's mostly men. Most of the men still feel like the best way to save anybody is through like aggression, match aggression with aggression and get through it. So like, I feel some sort of thoughtful training, although I obviously do not believe it's a silver bullet. I will never be that optimistic about anything. But could be helpful in moving it forward. Just bring up the idea that sometimes, folks just need somebody to like listen, care, react, do something. Even like, once again, I think the idea of like, the bystander intervention always being like getting them in between it. Like sometimes it's like, no, just like check in with somebody like, oh, I just saw it happen. Like, are you okay? Or that wasn't right. Or that's, like just something to help the experience not be so horrible, which right now I feel like all the reactions are just piling up on the issue as opposed to being any sort of relief or any sort of positive, outcome.
Is there any way that through the process of, getting these like young girls to participate in an awareness raising campaign, is there any way to turn that into almost like a focus group type of thing so that, we can have some like key takeaways from them to help, inform the training? Like what would have felt good for them? Like what would they like in that moment? Just so that we know that like, like we know what we can offer as professionals, but I think we were all teens a very long time ago. And it can be hard to tap into those experiences. And also it might be like a nice way for them to use their experience and turn it into a moment where they're like impacting the future and have like almost a therapeutic aspect to the whole thing, rather than them just talking about how horrible this was and how it made them feel and then just leaving them to go on their merry way. Not that we were planning on that, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's great. I know Dr. Brinkman has never, this started from a research lens where this came out, and I feel furthering that is, always an option. One tool that, I always like is the visual voices, which is a research tool that, which really falls in line with what we're doing with the chalk out, and allow, or to be a good expansion to that idea of the chalk out, where for those that aren't familiar, and some of y'all in the pit who might be really familiar, please weigh in and correct me in any points where I might be off on this. But visual voices just uses, instead of just focus group with like just words, is you allow folks to take time to actually draw out what they're feeling and thinking and what their thoughts are on something, and then get them to express what they just drew out, or however, sometimes we use photographs or whatever it may be to be able to explain where they're coming from on that. So I think that's great, especially like you said, the youth voice is such an important piece of this, because, not to age anybody here, but I don't think many of us necessarily identify as youth in this room. So yeah, we definitely want to bring them in for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like those creative avenues for research are important. I actually had talked about with the other data. I had this we had this conversation about doing sort of a play with some of the data from the street harassment, sexual harassment pieces, and really having youth involved in taking these experiences and all of that, right? What has happened, how they would reimagine what they want to have happen, and really turning that into a performance art piece so that it could continue to be ways to sort of share out. And I love what you said, Mallory, about not just here's this thing that happened to me that I didn't like, but what are what are the solutions that are like envisioned. So I think that like really thinking about building something like that. And you know, the Bgea girls have used a lot of amazing creative forms of expression. I think are really impactful, like to the audience.
So I think next month, this will definitely be on the agenda. And Dr. Brinkman and I would definitely be sure to try to find some time to nail down some more things for folks. Like I said, we'll also to do some more meetings leading up to it, so that we can really get a real thorough plan and get all these youth voices in there, all your voices. Yeah. So before we get off, we have about 20 more minutes. I wanted to bring up some things around the comprehensive sex ed piece that we've been working on. Since last time we met, we have had the opportunity to continue our conversation with folks on the board inside the policy committee to try to push our proposed policy through. We also had the opportunity to meet with the interim superintendent, and that was nice. So I think the next meeting for the policy committee is going to be on the 19th. They met once. They still have to button down some things, I suppose. So hopefully we'll get some better word for it by this meeting, because I think there's only 2. I don't know if they meet in June. If anybody's in PPS and knows that, that'd be great to know. But you know, hopefully by May we can kind of get better word, and then we'll be kind of in the action step of actually trying to make sure that we're showing up to these board meetings, and you know, that we're showing that, you know, as professionals, as parents, as just concerned citizens, that this is something that's really important to us. I would like to point out the issues going on currently in Florida with the Don't Say Gay bill. It's very much connected to work that we're doing. The reason why we want to put these policies in place, because it's strange actually. Like the Don't Say Gay bill, to some respects, leave space for folks like us, if we were in Florida, to speak out against heteronormativity and you know, the pushing of the straight agenda, as I like to call it, if we so pleased, right? That's not how they wrote it. They didn't write it for that purpose, but certainly it could be used for that purpose, right? But the thing, because we don't know, right? You can definitely have a teacher who's going in and just saying, like, you know, marriage is just between a man and woman, like no matter what the law says, right? Like I said, the second graders or third graders, or, you know, I think the law is for K through third grade. But the way we wrote up what we had in our local policy, it's not a bill, for Pittsburgh Public Schools, just notes that this should be taught by professionals who actually know best practices, who actually know how to be inclusive, and you know, are aware of the trauma in the room, and who aren't, you know, who can do without doing any harm or mitigating as much harm as possible, right? And if we had done on a state level, if Florida had that on a state level, then the Don't Say Gay bill wouldn't really matter much, because the kids would be getting, because that's one thing you wrote inside this policy. It's pre-K to graduation. So, you know, making sure that it's known that this is not, you know, we don't want to stay in this place of, we don't talk about consent until we talk about sexual consent, right? Like, we can talk about consent to kindergartners. It doesn't have to be about sexual consent. I think that's not appropriate. But we can tell them about, like, how to reach out to adults. And you know, that was my pet project when I was in my violence prevention program, was like this K-5 piece. So like seeing that, like, this is kind of the rug being pulled out from under them for that kind of work in Florida, really hurts my heart, because it's so important, right? Early intervention, right? We want to teach instead of having to unlearn things, right? Because by the time we get to high school, there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen. Well, let me tell you, when it gets to adults, it's nearly impossible, right? So, you know, these early interventions are really important, and you know, staying on top of this, you know, locally, but also I know, you know, Tasha and a lot of other folks have been working really hard on the state policies as well. Is really important, because it's under attack. People's feelings are making these laws, and not the data, not what we know to be best practices, not what, you know, every professional in the field is saying needs to be done. It's like, that's not right, it doesn't feel right to me, don't do that to my kid, And we need to get that narrative out of there and get the narrative of what, is, the great deal of professionals are saying is right. And it shouldn't be, it's like, we should hear both sides. It's like, well, if 90% of all therapists are saying this, if 90% of all doctors are saying this, and 90% of all sex ed teachers are saying this, why is this not the standard, as opposed to like, well, let's hear what the 10% has to say over and over again. It's like, no, what's their data? What are they bringing up to show how this is harmful when we're showing how it's all the great things it can do? So, that's where we're at with the comprehensive sex ed piece right now. I'm blanking on her name now. But we had one last minute edit from Pam Harbin. We had one last minute edit from her around just being specific around disability. We didn't have you in the room, Mallory, or else we probably would have got that earlier. But we missed that and making sure that we were responsive to folks with all abilities, so that way, that they understand it's for everybody and not just, the ones that they feel, the ones that they feel needed, the ones that we know needed, which is everybody. So that's where we're at with that. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
I was just thinking what you were saying about the Florida situation. There are many states who feel that way, and I think a lot of the conservative parents are really behind this. They're pushing a lot of these things in these schools, and along with no teaching about true American history, which would include our history and all. I'm comfortable in our city, we can do things, but I worry about the state, the next governor that comes up. Don't know which way that's going to go, but given most of Pennsylvania is not like Pittsburgh, that could be a problem here.
Yeah, and it feels like too, to Dr. Doswell's point, like another layer of recon that we may need to be doing. Speaking of Florida specifically, I'm from Florida, a very conservative part of the state. I'm sorry, y'all, my allergies are just tearing me up today. 1 second. Sorry, false alarm. From a very conservative part of the state, where my best friend is currently a guidance counselor, and they've had to put together an entire committee of teachers and counselors across the county, the school district, to fight back this organization that basically came in, recruited a handful of parents, and those parents then went to the school board and said, you should not be teaching these 10, 15 books because we feel like they are teaching subjects, even beyond critical race, also LGBTQ issues, sexual health, sex exploration, all of these things. And we feel like it's harmful to our children. And so the superintendent had to put together this commission of people in order to, and these are library books, not even what's being taught, because they want them removed from the library. And it is not the parents who have come together and organized themselves, it's this outside entity. And it made me think how many other jurisdictions are dealing with the same level of influence.
Yeah, I think the CRT issue has really just shined light on the extreme right's ability to organize. They're pretty good at it. They're very good at it. Once again, those feelings, those emotions are in there, and they're using people's feelings to really exploit what's being done. So yeah, we're getting like lots of people who aren't from the district, aren't from around anywhere, are coming in just to disrupt. It's a disruption. And this has been the issue with sex ed for so long, right? It's such a vocal minority, right? And that vocal minority, I'm like, man, like I wish sometimes I wish like some of like the things that we care so much about were better organized, because like they're out organizing us. You know what I mean? Like they just are. They're doing a better spin. That's not to like, victim blame us or something, but like it does mean that we really have to do a better job of like being very vocal, very open, and continue to beat that drum over and over again, because they're on the other side and they're doing it. And like I said, once this is going to the board, yes, we need to come out in force, because I will be really surprised the opposition isn't there. Like that would be a shocker.
And it's bad enough that it's in the schools, but it's in the public libraries. They're trying to take the books out. And those public libraries, I just can't believe that they would do that. I mean, who stays in, what books stay in, what books come out. And then where do our books need to be that they don't want in there? If they don't want it in the school, they don't want it in the public library, where should those things be? We need to think about that. Where should those things be? So that our youth and us can have access to them, because it's ridiculous. It's just ignorance to me.
And that's where we're at. And the report that we put out years ago kind of shines a light on that. Like really, like it's the community organizations are the ones that are doing the heavy lift and making sure this is around, inside of Pittsburgh public schools and surrounding school districts for that matter. It's such a crapshoot. It's like, a kid could get really great sex ed and great instruction. They can get none. They can get some that's just toxic and doesn't validate who they are or where they're going in their lives or what choices they're trying to make. So it's, and that's the thing. That's why, I hate the political piece. I hate all the policy pieces, but also it's so necessary. Like these are like the only real shields we have, the only guardrails we have to really keep some level of standards in place and some level of actually quality education in place. So.
Jose, do y'all have a sense of when it might go to the board, the full board for a vote? Like what month?
I'm hoping May. The policy committee met April, it's April now. March, sorry. They met in March 20th or 19th or something like that. I think they meet like the third week of every month. So they have another meeting coming up. The lawyers are taking their look at it and everything. Pam Harbin and I don't remember anybody's name ever. And the other gentleman who's on the board, Gene, they're both for it. The superintendent seemed like he didn't seem to have any opposition. He had some quality questions, so it makes me think that he's on board. And the board itself seems like it's pretty liberal, left, leaning, which unfortunately is like the only thing that equates to like inclusive, and what I mean, like it's either because there's obviously a lot of issues with the left leaning folks as well, but like so I think we have a good shot that'll come up in May, but we won't know for sure. Certainly by the next meeting, we'll have a better sense of it. We have to wait for the policy meeting to go through one more time because it goes to policy, then it goes to administration, and then it goes to the board, and then it goes back to administration. Is what I believe the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Just so we can, because I think you're right. I think it's just better for us to plan like a supportive response and have people sign up to testify, and we can put out some support about like how to write a testimony and all of that, and just have people get on their calendars so that even if there is some opposition that shows up, that we can have like a show of strength and support, kind of ready. So.
The things that, for those that are kind of new, but the things that we discussed as the next steps once we know it's going to the board is doing like Dr. Ring said, doing a workshop for young folks and for adults for that matter on how to write something up. We were going to keep it kind of broad on how to do it and not say it's just about sex ed, but let them know that this is coming down the pipeline if you're interested in writing for that. We don't want to tell young folks like this is what we're into, so you got to do this. But our hope is that when we let them know this is the issue that we're looking at, that they'll be like, yes, I am interested in that. That is important. But yeah, and also getting parents in there, I think is really, really important. Trying to go back out and tap some of these teachers, getting some teacher testimony. I feel those are the stakeholders that really kind of hold the strongest weight. But us, like once again, us as professionals and just citizens and parents as well. Oh, parents are already on there, but I think a really important voice to have in the room as well. Any other closing thoughts or questions before we jump off? If there's any new folks, so I have a kind of list of folks that I've been reaching out to whenever we have these meetings with the board members. For those who are interested in coming, because they're open to anybody in the group. It's not, with some of you new folks, if you're interested, let me know and I'll put you on the email list too whenever we have these upcoming meetings. Everyone's more than welcome. The more the merrier. So well, I appreciate y'all being here today. I hope folks find some time today to do something really kind to yourselves because I'm sure you deserve it. So yeah, until next time.
Thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Bye all. Good to see you.
Bye everyone.